So, Marc Guiu, a target for Chelsea, the young Barcelona striker who's really highly rated. He's targeted for Chelsea and not Strasbourg. What do we think of this?
Way so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel, Football Therapy, with me, your host, Jan. Hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. So we are going to talk a little bit about this Barcelona striker. Teenager, of course, 18-year-old, has 12 months left on his deal. Has a release clause of €6 million. Other clubs are in for him. Bayern Munich have spoken to him, but apparently Chelsea are leading the race by doing something apparently they do a lot of, well, pitching a project, convincing players with the project. I don't know how they do it, but apparently they are doing it. Of course, there is a new contract on the table from Barcelona. Barcelona do not want to get rid of Guiu. He scored in his debut seconds after coming on. He's a proper number 9. We could look at his, I could show you his profile stuff, but it's limited stats because of the limited minutes. But he's tall. He only plays as a centre forward. He's not one of these, like, players that floats around. He's a false 9 who can play on the left wing and second striker and in the hole. No, he is a centre forward. He's a striker, and that's you know it's not like Nico Jackson, a converted winger. It's not like playing a Christopher Nkunku up top, who's a second striker slash attacking midfielder. He's a centre forward. So we're going to talk about it today. As always, thank you for all the lovely comments I've been getting recently. It's been really, really nice. If you want to support the content, you can do simply by liking and subscribing. And I do really appreciate that. And genuinely, this morning's video got a lot of love in the comments. And yeah, I really appreciate the feedback, guys. So thank you for doing that. And let's get into it. Show you this first. Ding! An update from Fabrizio Romano earlier this afternoon. Chelsea are ahead of Bayern Munich for Marc Guiu as they presented a specific project for his development at the club at Chelsea. So it's Chelsea and Barca now as a new proposed deal for Barcelona are waiting on the player's final decision. So it's down to the player. Now, many people, cynical, you could argue maybe realistic, arguing this is a clever tactical move for a negotiating means to get a better deal out of Barcelona. Barcelona will not want to let him go because he's a very exciting player that looks like he could be an incredible striker, and for them to lose him for €6 million, they would be very upset. And you can imagine, should they secure him on a new long-term deal, he will be on a, because it's La Liga, they do have buyout clauses, but they become silly. Like I referenced this morning, they put like people like Pedri and Gavi on like €1 billion buyout clauses. I'm not saying that Guiu will be there as well, but yeah, it'll be a lot. It suddenly won't be an achievable, thing to just buy. I'm going to read an article here from Chelsea.news, Cy Phillips's Chelsea news website, and get a little bit more info on that now. In a matter of just a few days, the Chelsea interest in Marc Guiu has gone from purely speculative to very real. But, Cy does have good information. AS, the Spanish publication, today have a long piece explaining the Chelsea's interest in the striker, with some detail on how things are going. They say that the 18-year-old forward was presented a great opportunity for clubs because of his €6 million fee, of course, his release clause. But that is when Chelsea. That's while Chelsea. But it's Chelsea. This is what AS is saying, or AS. Chelsea that have moved the hardest for him. Does that surprise you? Kindergarten SW6 getting all the superstar teenagers in the world? No, it does not. But clearly he's a player that people want. In fact, it seems there's already been contact, more contact than we expected, between the two sides. They maintain that the new manager, Enzo Maresca, quote, has already spoken to Guiu on several occasions. Excuse me, that is pretty big. Like, why, if we are to believe this, by the way, and every time we read a report from any journalist or any publication. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. But it's saying that, by the way, Enzo Maresca, who doesn't officially start work for, 6 or 7 days, has already spoken to... I mean, by the way, I do think he started work, inverted commas. Of course he's preparing. I mean, maybe there's been a phone call. Maybe there's been a few phone calls, like the report is suggesting. Several occasions, that's what it's saying. This is in order to present Chelsea's sporting project to him. And it seems to be that one that has convinced. Well, we will see on that. Firstly, the money on the table is many times what Barcelona have offered. So that is interesting. Right, because Barcelona, of course, they pay silly money to players they probably shouldn't have bought, like, Lewandowski or whatever, and he's getting paid insane money at Barcelona. And the youngsters, they don't give much money to until you become like a Lamine Yamal, or, do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, but Chelsea seem to be willing to offer 18-year-olds, significant cash. Not anywhere near what Michael Elise wants to get paid, but significant money for them to be like, okay, Esteban Willian, etc., etc. So they've offered many times what Barcelona have currently offered, and there is a contract on the table from Barcelona, and it's basically, quote, unbeatable by his current team, given their financial issues. Now we know Bro Colonna, hashtag Bro Colonna, pulling levers all over the gaff and making terrible financial decisions. Couldn't be my team, touch wood. So yeah, maybe we got that juice. A few more hotels to sell to ourselves, etc. More than that, the Premier League itself attracts the teenager. Good, it's the best league in the world, mate. And he's been a fan since young. Can you believe that? Defo. He also thinks the physical characteristics could make a good fit for him, although there's plenty of work still to be done on his physique. Yeah, he's not a little guy. He's a big boy. He's a big centre forwards. I'll just tell you some of the stuff in it. It's limited profiling stuff in just a moment. So yeah, still work to be done. He's an 18-year-old. He will fill out probably even more, I guess. His €6 million release clause means Chelsea can basically speak directly to him, and most sources are now reporting that the youngster is already looking at personal terms offered by the Blues. And if all goes to plan, and it sounds like he's been convinced financially and competitively, he could move as soon as this week. Selling this deal to supporters, Sai writes here. The next question is how the club could convince the other end of the equation, the supporters. They were expecting, perhaps optimistically, an elite forward like Benjamin Sesko or Victor Osimhen. They've ended up with a teenager with 2 league appearances to his name. Despite the talent, it's a new angle for sure. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. So yes, he's 18, he turns 19 in January, early January. He's nearly 1.9 meters tall. He is right-footed and, of course, has 12 months left on his deal. His main position listed by Transfermarkt is centre forward. Centre forward. He doesn't play any other positions. He is a striker by trade. He's a born and bred striker, centre forward. And that, I guess, is what we want and what we've been looking for. In La Liga 2, he had 4 appearances, 4 goal involvements, pretty elite. Yeah, of course, he made his debut for Xavi as well, scored like immediately. He just looks like a really bright prospect, bright target, and, could be an excellent player. But, ladies and gentlemen, how do we feel? Does this mean we don't get another big boy centre forward, whether that's, Serhou Guirassy, Jonathan David? There was reports earlier today that Victor Osimhen is still looking for a club that he thought would be really easy to get out of Napoli. He wants to get out of Napoli. And Napoli are apparently willing to drop his release clause down to the asking price below his release clause to £87 million. Now, me personally, excuse me, I've just eaten. Me personally, I'm not looking at Osimhen too excitedly anymore with the injuries, the relatively poor form, the massive wages. Now, Osimhen kind of, well, he can obviously demand higher wages than Elise, because he's won a Scudetto and scored a load of goals doing it. Elise hasn't done that, but he's played for Palace. And Clear's a big character in Osimhen, and he's a good, mobile, strong striker. Like, again, you want to talk about profile, Osimhen's good, right? But dropping the bag on him and in both wages and transfer fee, I just don't feel... I mean, obviously it would be exciting. In the same way it would have been exciting to sign Elise or Nico Williams or whatever, because high-profile players are exciting. They just are. So it would be exciting, but I've just got reservations, man. Maybe it's Lukaku that scarred me, I don't know. But I do have reservations, and maybe it's because of the last season he had. But maybe that's why his price is dropping all the time. It's like one of these houses that don't sell, that reduce their asking prices every, 6 months. But quicker in this instance, because it does seem like he wants to go, and they were like, fair enough. I don't think he wants to go to Saudi. Maybe he will take the Saudi bag. Maybe, he'll do a Lukaku. And of course, going to Napoli is a guy called Antonio Conte, who we know really well. I'm not sure how much Conte likes Victor Osimhen, and of course... The stories are, and I speculated this long ago, the stories are that he wants Lukaku. It's just Napoli are hella broke. And of course, Romano himself has come out on several occasions to say there's no swap negotiation for Lukaku and Osimhen, certainly as it stands anyway, which, again, fine. So how do we feel about Gu, this 18-year-old striker? Well, of course, we have other young strikers. There are good young strikers in the development squad. There's a couple of good ones in there. And of course, on the books, we have 3 young strikers, actual centre-forwards, that probably won't be considered. And they go by the names of David Washington. I think he'll definitely go on loan. I don't think he'll be in the development squad. I think Chelsea will try and find a loan for him, and they'll try and flip Washington for profit. They just will. Of course, David Detro Fofana. I don't see him having a Chelsea first-team career. I do see him... actually maybe representing an okay acquisition if he, obviously showed at Burnley that he can do a bit. Another loan, hopefully a Premier League loan or like a good top-flight European loan, I think, for him. And of course, Broja is almost certainly going to be sold one way or another. So, I mean, if they again, it's you have to defer to what they're looking at in their plan. If they truly think this is what we're doing, Maresca's spoken to this guy, the Chelsea manager has spoken to this guy a bunch. He wants him. He thinks he can use him in the first team. He's big, tall, strong, fast, technical. He's, La Masia, Barcelona player. And he's going to cost absolutely nothing. Go watch those compilations, guys, and let me know what you think. I'll basically repeat what I said earlier. Chelsea buying good players for not much money generally isn't a bad thing, provided everyone knows the score, People are terribly excited about Esteval coming, quite rightly so. We spoke about him recently. Cole Palmer's already exchanging social media posts with him and stuff. No one minds that. Maybe Mark Gu is... another superstar that we can take off Barcelona and laugh at them for. I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? Look, he might... By the way, I'm totally open to this being an angle for him to really maximise his offer from Barcelona. But that AS article suggesting that Barca just can't match the financial might of Chelsea in the Premier League. But he might just be angling to try and get an increased salary there. But also, he might... Everyone can talk about the distasteful nature of Chelsea signing all these youngsters, but in a way, like, for a young talented player, it's probably quite exciting, because it's not, I'm joining Real Madrid and, a midfield of Modric, Casemiro and Toni Kroos, let's say a couple of years ago, when Tchouaméni or Camavinga joined as a teenager. It's a lot of pressure, bro. You're becoming a Galactico and a senior team. No, we're actually building a whole new generation of players of your age from around the world, and you're going to grow with them. That sounds like a little bit more alluring in that sense. So I put it out to you guys, so let me know what you think. Please do comment down below. I want to read your comments, and thank you for all the nice feedback I've been getting. And as always, thank you for liking and subscribing. And I do hope to see you back here very soon. Peace.